Hey everyone, welcome back. We know many of you have been following along with the updates around the Universal Studios theme park for quite some time now. Yes, we're going to be revisiting some of the ground we've already covered, but we've got new context and expanded details to share with you today. There's been some movement on the government negotiations, fresh insights into the infrastructure plans, and of course, more on what this means for the local community and the overall economy. So stick around as we break it all down and give you the latest updates. The information we're going over today comes from a wide-ranging interview published by iNews. Now the site is paywalled, so we can't show the article directly on screen, but we've included a link below if you want to check it out. Don't worry though, we're going to break down all the important details from that interview right here. Before we dive into the tax breaks Universal is after, just a quick reminder, Universal has locked down 500 acres of land in Bedfordshire, and the park is expected to generate £35 billion in economic value over the next 20 years. On top of that, it's bringing in 20,000 construction jobs and 8,000 permanent roles once it's up and running. So if you've seen our thumbnail, you've probably guessed where this is going. We had to throw in a nod to Only Fools and Horses because Universal is basically out here asking no income tax, no VAT. And now we know exactly what those tax breaks are and why they want them. First up, they're asking for VAT reductions on ticket sales. Why is that important? Well, cutting VAT means that tickets to the park will be cheaper for visitors. Think of it like this. A family planning a big day out might hesitate if the ticket prices are too high. By lowering the VAT, Universal can keep their prices more competitive, especially since they'll be going up against other big parks across Europe like Disneyland Paris. It's all about making the park more accessible and attractive for tourists from the UK and beyond. Next on the list is corporation tax cuts. This one's pretty straightforward. It's the tax Universal would pay on the profits they make from the park. Now, running a massive theme park isn't cheap, and Universal wants to reinvest as much as they can back into the park to keep adding new attractions and staying relevant. If they're paying less in corporation tax, they've got more cash to put back into the park, ensuring it keeps growing and bringing in repeat visitors. For the government, this means they get a smaller cut of Universal's earnings, but as Mark Frost put it, at the minute the government has got 100% of nothing. Even if it gives away 50% of the tax revenue, it is still better off than it would have been. Then we've got the business rate concessions, which is basically the tax they pay on the land and buildings at the park. Theme parks are huge, especially one as big as this, covering 500 acres. Reducing the business rates means that Universal's day-to-day operational costs are lower. Over time, that's a huge saving. This makes it easier for them to maintain the park, pay their staff and manage all those running costs. It's all about reducing the financial burden so that the park doesn't become a money pit. At the end of the day, Universal wants these breaks because they reduce their upfront and ongoing costs, making the project financially viable from the start. So yeah, when we say Universal is asking for no income tax, no VAT, it's not just a joke from the Only Fools and Horses theme song. They're trying to make sure the park is financially viable for the long haul, and they believe these tax breaks are the way to do it. The big question now is whether the government agrees. Before we crack on, if you're enjoying this breakdown, why not give that like button a click and subscribe? You'd be a plonker not to. Now, it's not just tax cuts Universal is after. They're also asking the government to chip in for some major infrastructure upgrades around the park. If they want to handle the millions of visitors expected to come through each year, the local area needs serious improvements. First up is the Wixham's railway station. Work has already started on it, but Universal wants to go bigger. They're pushing for the station to expand from 2 platforms to at least 4 platforms and possibly more, with a 24-hour service to handle the constant flow of visitors. The station is expected to be completed by 2026, but if Universal gets its way, the expansion might push that timeline back. Then there's the motorway upgrades. They're asking for improvements to junction 13 on the M1, as well as a brand new junction off the A421, which connects to both the A1 and M1. These changes would help funnel all that extra traffic straight to the park without clogging up local roads. Universal's plan is to deliver some of these infrastructure upgrades in stages by spreading out the costs over time. They hope it will be more financially manageable for the government. Local officials are backing these improvements, saying they're necessary to make the project a success. Without proper infrastructure, the park could turn into a logistical nightmare, with traffic jams and public transport issues that would frustrate visitors and hurt the park's reputation. In fact, Bedford's Mayor Tom Wooten mentioned that Universal is committed to making the visitor experience as smooth as possible. They don't want people stuck in traffic or crowded onto trains because, as they say it, happy visitors lead to repeat visits. If someone's day is ruined by traffic, they might not come back. So Universal's goal is to create an easy, stress-free journey to and from the park, right down to things like keeping the verges trimmed and the roads litter-free. Now, when it comes to how the locals feel about all this, it's definitely a mixed bag. On one hand, many residents are excited about the potential job creation and the economic boost the park will bring. We're talking about 20,000 construction jobs and 8,000 permanent roles once the park is up and running. Plus, there's the ripple effect. Local businesses from shops to restaurants are expecting a bump in traffic from all the visitors, but not everyone's thrilled. Some residents are worried about the increased traffic, noise, and the loss of their peaceful countryside surroundings. For example, Sharon Davis, who lives near the planned car park, mentioned her concerns about noise pollution and the impact on her quiet village life. She's also got mobility issues, so construction traffic and crowds are a big concern for her. At the same time, others like local plumber Glenn Zara are fully on board. He's ready to embrace the changes and is even planning to rent out his house once the park opens, seeing it as a solid way to cash in on the tourism boom. So while some are a bit cautious, others are already thinking about how they can benefit from the park's arrival. When we talk about the park, it's hard not to compare it to another massive theme park project, Disneyland Paris. Just like with Disney, the French government spent a huge amount, over $400 million, on local infrastructure to get that park off the ground. Universal is hoping for similar support here in the UK. An expert on theme parks, Dr. Sabrina Mittermeier, mentioned that governments often put a lot of money into these types of projects because they know the long-term payoffs are worth it. Jobs, tourism, and of course the economic boost to the local area. In Disney's case, France agreed to cut VAT on their ticket sales and even gave them a cheap government loan to make sure the park was a success. Universal is likely thinking along the same lines. They've got a guaranteed visitor base thanks to their popular intellectual properties like Harry Potter. Video coming shortly on why is looking increasingly likely, and Super Nintendo Land. People will come for the rides and attractions tied to those franchises, just like they do at Universal's parks in the US, Japan and China. That's what makes this such a safe bet for both Universal and the government. They know the visitors will be there as long as the park gets built. Before we wrap up, here's another interesting tidbit. Milton Keynes was actually in the running to host this theme park before Universal chose Bedfordshire. They had the transport links and everything, but Bedfordshire ended up being the winner, partly because of how welcoming the local government has been. In fact, Tom Wooten, the mayor of Bedford, said they rolled out the red carpet for Universal, offering them offices and support from the start. That extra bit of hospitality may have tipped the scales in Bedfordshire's favour. So where does that leave us now? Well, Universal is still negotiating for those tax breaks and infrastructure upgrades, and it's clear that local officials are pushing hard to get this deal done, but whether the government will agree to the terms is still up in the air. We'll be keeping an eye on this as it develops, and once we know more, we'll be back to break it down for you. Until then, let us know in the comments. Would you have preferred Milton Keynes, or are you happy with Bedfordshire getting the park?